Hey friends, it's Wayne. I'm at Tier Fund, and I'm so glad to tell you a little story. I'm, right in the Credit River Valley. The salmon are running down the river there, and I'm going to take you on a little trip to Kenya. We're going to a place called Makwene County. It's about 4 hours directly east of the city of Nairobi, but we're going into a semi-arid area. In the Toronto region, we typically get between 60 and 80 centimeters of rain and snow every year. There in Makwene, they get about 20 centimeters of rain every year, and it typically happens in 3 to 5 days and no rain for the other 360 days. And so whatever they grow has to last them for a whole year from what they're doing there. As a result, it's poor, it's dry, it's arid. But I got my friend Anya here, and Anya is going to take us on a little trip about life-changing women's empowerment through savings.
We are working with women who live in communities where the church is strong and the climate is changing a lot. These women are very hardworking and they are faithful members of their church, and that is why we work through the church. The church helps these women to form savings groups. And as they form savings groups, they learn the discipline to save, even the little money that they have. And after 3 months, they can start to take loans from these groups. And with these loans, they start to do agricultural work in their kitchen gardens as well as on their fields. So this is a Kenyan bank. This is where the women that we were telling you about save. The group has about 25 people. And look, it has a box with 3 different locks. There are 3 lock keepers in the group, and they make sure that all the money of the group stays safe in their bank. Then they have passbooks. Every member's passbook is in this bank. And in the passbook, what you will see is all of the savings that are made by the different women. When you save 1 to 5 shares, those savings go into the group. And after a few months, any of the group members can apply for a loan that they can use to grow their own businesses. Typically, a group has 25 members, and each member will save between 50 cents to $1 per share, up to 5 shares. And so typically, one group will have $40 per week saved in their group. They meet every week, so in a month, they'll meet 4 times, up to $160 per month for the group. Every week, the women get together in their group. They sit together in a circle. Each of them is numbered, and they sit in the same spot every week, so that absence is easily noted. They also have fines. If they're late for the meeting, they have to pay a little fine. If their phone rings during a meeting, they have to pay a fine. If you whisper to your neighbor, you have to pay a fine. And that's how the group begins to raise money, and also instills discipline into the women for timeliness and for regulating the group's activities. In addition to that, they have a social fund. So every woman will save 20 cents into the social fund every week. The social fund is used by the group to help members pay for funeral expenses or emergency medical expenses. And sometimes at the end of the year, if they've not spent their social fund, they'll give that money to a church, or part of it to a church and part of it to needy people in the community whom they wish to serve. So as these women grow their group and grow their social fund and grow their businesses, after a number of years, meeting together, trusting one another, and understanding the community, they become a helping hand, or an aid agency, if you will, within that community without any money from outside. The most exciting part of the group happens once a year. That's the end of what we call a savings cycle. What the women do is they put together all the money they've saved, all the fines, and that money is divided amongst all of them in what's called the share out. The share out is done according to the number of shares that you have saved throughout the 52 weeks of that year. It is such an exciting time. In fact, sometimes their husbands or brothers will wait close by to see how much money they get. And sometimes the women will do wonderful things with their funds. In fact, recently I was at a share out where one woman got $110 and she was able to put a roof on the house of her family. She had never had a proper roof on her house. It had always been leaking, and now they had a proper roof on their house because she had never seen that much money at one go. There was another share out where a gentleman who was a lone gentleman in the group took the money and paid for the school fees of his nephew for the following year so that his nephew could complete school. So the share out and the savings sometimes is the difference between a child going to school or not going to school, the difference between having a nutritious meal or not having a nutritious meal, the difference between having an income that is fairly regular through business or not having regular income at all.
So Anya, I'm really interested. What difference does it make to this group of 25 women and maybe one man in a group that was started by the pastor and his wife of the local church? How does this change the lives of those families, 25 families, and the church and the community?
There are so many impacts. In fact, I've also seen businesses being started for young people. Many young people who are unemployed and have the tendency to migrate to the cities where they don't have good housing and good sanitation. So these young people can stay in the communities and be a support in the communities and to their families by having businesses like taxi business. I have seen kids go to school that otherwise would not. I have been with a family where their mom was stigmatized because of HIV/AIDS, and her children were able to go to school because she initially was not able to take them to school. But through her ability to save, she can now take her children to school. I have seen women start kitchen gardens, and now they sell vegetables into the market and also have more nutritious meals at home that otherwise they would not have. In fact, the other thing that is happening is men that had moved away from the village, moving to the city to try and find some casual work here and there, have moved back to the village, are part of the family once again because they're able to make a living. Sometimes you'll find the man of the house in a separate village savings group where he and other men are able to save together and be a support to one another.
So folks, I'm really excited about this little project that you're getting involved with your grandma and grandpa and with Francis. And so this is a bank in the box. And so what's your $5,000 going to do? You are going to be able to sponsor 4 village savings and loan groups, each one with their own bank, with their own passbooks, with their own savings, with training and mentoring for a whole year until they have share out. And then they will be able to go on and keep on going. In fact, our friend Josephine, she tells us that 5 years later, after the training ends, 92% of the groups are still operating. 88% of all of the participants in Kenya are female. And how much does it cost? So for $5,000, you'll sponsor 4 village and savings and loan groups, each of 25 people. So that's 100 women and probably 4 men, 1 per group. So you are going to touch the lives of 104 families. So for $5,000, that works out to about $48 a family that you have the opportunity of transforming their life, building self-esteem, building dignity, changing a whole perspective of I'm not poor, that I'm growing and I'm building a business, of seeing them being able to give back to the community, to the poor, of being able to build their homes, send their kids to school, and contribute in a meaningful way at church. But it also transforms the church, because what you've done is you've changed from an attitude of I need to have to I have something to give. And so thank you so much for considering this. $5,000, 104 families, $48 a family. You're making a real difference. God bless you.